When did you get into the properties?
So basically, in me, I used to have I mean, we still this guy is a great guy. He's one of my best friends. His name is Andy. And
Big up Andy.
Definitely, man. Andy's
We salute Andy.
He's a G.
Yeah.
He's a G. He's a G. So, me and him, we used to work for Nick McLean, basically.
You know what's going to happen now? RHM people are going to go, Andy did?
Andy Mendy? Andy? No. Not that Andy, the guy. The Andy. You're messing around with my head, man. Seriously. Listen, so me and Andy, we said, listen, I think we got enough for a job. Let's just set up. Let's just go away. Then we start working from home. I remember we used to have I used to have this living room, small table, and the kid running around, and in them days, you used to have this lumpy computer in the corner and so on. So yeah, we started basically. We started doing that, and then the rest is history. And then what we've done is we set up, and then after almost 7-8 months of working from home, we said, you know what, seriously, man, this is not on, man. We need to get our own office. We're not one company. I had my own company. He had his own company. But we're collaborating in a lot of the job because he was doing the architectural side of it, and I was doing the engineering side, and then whatever. So, and then we start helping, we start getting in touch with developers. So, a lot of these developers, they used to come to us because we're very flexible, and we knew what we were doing, and so the inspiration start coming in. It's we start seeing the numbers. We help them to buy the house. What I mean by we used to go to the property, we evaluate the property in terms of what can be done, what can it be changed, what value can be added in terms of the alteration, extension, and converting into flats and that kind of things, because we got the design side of it. So we got there and whatever, and then I started looking at the numbers. I said to myself, wow, this is no-brainer. This is no-brainer. We need to get into this. By the way, in terms of a property, I bought my first property in 2005, but it was a property I bought the first property in 2005 because I was doing, I wanted to buy to let, but the one I'm talking to you about is actually real development where you buy a property and you do actual physical work to it.
That's where you buy property,
yeah,
you fix everything,
yep,
just people that don't understand it.
Yep, no, right? Absolutely, yep.
Do everything from scratch.
Absolutely.
Change it how you want.
Yep.
And then fix it up, flip it and share it and sell it.
So this developer, that's what they were doing mainly.
Yeah.
And we see the numbers, and we start scratching our head and this is great. And you know what it is? It's you always get stuck in your little bubble, and in that bubble it had to burst at some point. And for me, it was it took a long time, but in the last 2-3 years, I start buying and selling basically, and it is is doing well, and we are pushing for more, and we got a few development on the pipeline, and so on. But so in terms of properties, we Eritreans or the Habesha community in general, we are stuck in our money under the pillow.
Yep.
And that is the biggest problem we have is money. Just to give you a quick example. So I was saying, every 10 years money gets devalued by a huge percentage, and people, they don't really understand it, and they don't really have that concept. They think putting money under the pillow, or even if you put in ICE account, that's nothing. So the only really real value where you can just increase the value of what you have is to buy properties at the moment. Of course, there's stocks, there's crypto, there's so many things that you could do. You can invest in, but something that is tangible is properties.
What would you give advice? You talked about our community, especially, they might have money under the pillow, or they're scared to invest. Sometimes lack of language of understanding.
Yep.
There are people either they got money but they don't know what to do with it. How could you or advise them think, you know what, this is what you can do, right? now we have someone like you, they can contact you. Obviously, we put your detail here.
Yeah.
But what advice would you give them?
I mean, the biggest point, I mean, the biggest thing is, remember, is you need to provide, this generational wealth is what we're not talking about in our community. The general wealth is what all this, like, other community, like, let's say the English people, that's what they do. I've seen it firsthand, and it is quite apparent that's what they live off. And the way they do it is, it's not by leaving money, cash in the bank. What they do is they put like a system in place that protects their children, grandchildren, and so on. And now, like, in terms of the technical side of it, is how you do this is you have to start small. You cannot start from the top. You cannot start whatever. So no matter what money you have, is you need to be able to become you need to be able to become, like, you need to be able to get a mortgage. That's a simple first step. In order to do this, I'm sorry, Habesha people, you need to pay flipping tax. This is not funny. It's like, it's not a joke. It's like there's a lot of minicab drivers. There's a lot of people, they do things. And what they do is they pay the minimum tax. And then they expect to go to a bank and get mortgage out of it. I'm sorry to say this, but we need to learn that we need to pay taxes, or we need to have a very good accountant that helps you to get that process through, and so on. So, like, you need to get an accountant that does that process and get you to a space where you can get mortgage. Because if you can't get a mortgage, then that's different. Now, if you got, like, if you got something like 100,000 sitting down in a bag, what you could do is there's different way of doing this. You could get like a pool where, like, you pull the money together with 1 or 2, 3 people, and then you buy cash. And that way, what you do is you become, like, you got an asset that is that you can remortgage it once it's rented out, because you could put a buy-to-let on it, mortgage. There's a different way of doing this, and, like, there's some great Eritrean community or groups that I know that they do this. But unfortunately,
our community to do that.
Well, yeah, but they're very, very small in numbers, but they do it, and it works. So it's not you need to go to a formalized process. Oh, Hawaiiha, Galiha, or my friend, my cousin, Galikona. You need to go to a solicitor that does this for living, set up the document that is required to set up how the property is going to be shared, how the property is going to be run, and so on. Obviously, like, you need to be, you need to have, trust on the other people that they're going to follow through their commitment. But it does not mean that you can just stagnate and say, oh, maybe they will do this, maybe whatever. If and but are what stop as our community. Simple.
Is it a trust issue?
Well, it's not only trust, but it's lack of knowledge as well. Lack of knowledge is what stops them, because I get asked questions like as silly as, oh, what, like, Abia Geza, or Husur Geza, or where's the cheapest house? That's not the question. The question is, what fund do you have? I know, what is your financial situation? I know, and then they tell you, like, some ridiculous amount, and you're thinking, well, like, you need to go to Birmingham, or you need to go to outside London, because, like, the property that is not to put people down, but is, like, you need to be realistic that if you haven't paid your taxes, if you haven't done the process that you need to go through to get to a stage where you can, like, you can get mortgage from a company, like, £100,000 cash is not going to buy nothing in London now. Like, it's like, that's why, hence, probably bringing a pool together, that's one way of doing it. Or, like, and one another side is trust your kids as well. Like, I see a lot of families, they got children which are like 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever. I can trust them to do something good with it.
Do you feel like they got money, but they'd rather trust someone outside the family than their own family?
It's not that, but it's
maybe
more,
they're thinking the kid's not matured yet.
Well, it's either that, or it's either the lack of knowledge of what they can do with the money as well, because it's like, they got the money and they sitting on top of it, and they think is doing something, but it's not. So going back to that 10 years example I was saying, is every, like, they in average, like every 10 years and so on, your money is devalued by 25%. That's given. So the reason is like if you want to buy a loaf of bread in Tesco 10 years ago, probably would have been 80 pence or 60 pence or something. Yeah. Now is 10 years later is £1 something. Yeah. So that's just a simple example where the value of money, what you have, is not what could have bought you in 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you could have come back with bread and milk with £1 probably. Mm-hmm. Now you can only buy £1 bread. So you have to find another pound to buy you milk. So it's just a simple example, and people, they don't think that way. I know people, they got 100,000 and so on money, and they're sitting on it. I know them for 7, 8, 10 years, 20 years.
But what is it? I mean, like you said, if people got cash in their hand, right? Yeah. How would it work as a community, for example, right? Let's say 6, 7 family, they got money under the pillow. What stops them coming together?
Trust and lack of knowledge.
Going forward with it.
Trust and lack of knowledge.
How can we change that?
How
can we change that?
Basically, old habits are hard to break. Mm-hmm. So it's more, and that's why hence I'm saying it's probably trusting the younger generation or their children and so on is a way forward, because I advise certain people to do certain things, whatever, but because of lack of knowledge or whatever, I tell them, look, why don't you just trust your kid to do this, or to handle the transaction, handle this, whatever. So it needs to be they need to involve their children, because they're given an opportunity for their children to learn about money, and how to handle it, how to source it, and what money can do. Because I got this simple concept. It's not me that I coined it or whatever, but I follow this principle. Don't work for money, make your money work for you.
That's a very good point.
Or whatever it is. Seriously, more you could work your whole life, but then you are a slave to that job. That means you are you are constantly asking someone else to feed you. But if you're making money work for you, then at some point you will have a leverage or a freedom to say, you know what, I don't need to work anymore. For example, there's a lot of people that they want to go back home in Eritrea and retire. One mechanism you can only retire in Eritrea is, you could take it £100,000 you have and take it back in Eritrea, but sooner or later that's going to run out.
It'll run out, absolutely.
Or you could buy property in here and have you have a cow that you just milk it. And that's what it is. You got property in here, you do a let manage on it, and it brings you £500, £600, £1,000, whatever it is, and that money drips into your pocket, and you still got the whole assets invested in the property. So and this is one side of our communities that they don't think about is how they're going to handle their retirement. Are they going to pay? Are they going to do are they going to live through the government paychecks?
Are we living for now? Is that how our community look at it? Just for now?
Well, they are great savers. They're great savers, but they're not all forward thinkers. So, and the way I look at it, I take a lot of gamble in my investment, and luckily, because of the knowledge I have, I've been lucky enough to find properties that they did well and so on. But property is no brainer for me. Obviously you have to do your due diligence. Talk to expert people like me, like other people. You don't have to come to me, or you don't have whatever. But yeah, you have to go through that process, and you have to go through that process that to understand it. But to make the story short, is invest in tangible assets, or if you want to take risk, also you can invest in certain spaces like cryptocurrency or stocks and so on. So for the younger generation, please, seriously, I strongly advise you to go into the crypto space, have a look at it, or if you got a bit of cash, trying to invest into property. I love it when there's one girl that she comes into our group chats every night, and she just told us that she's buying a property without mentioning her name. She's just buying property with her sister, and that makes me feel good.
You know what? You just mentioned cryptocurrency. I would love you to come back and elaborate a bit more. But before we wrap it up, you've been here a while. In Europe, London, UK. What change have you seen between the generation from the early 90s and the new generation?
I think I'm excited actually by the younger generation, and the reason I'm excited is because I see a lot of these young people, they're well informed, and obviously the sort of the social media and the technological aspects play a big role on that side. I'm very, very encouraged that the especially the Eritrean community, they are very, very rooted into their heritage, as well as being versatile enough to have a very good network within sort of the wider community of London and UK. So in that sense, is the technological and the social media aspect play a big role, and I can that's the biggest difference in our generation when we're young. I'd say I'm still young, by the way. So unlike someone, I had to throw that in there. I'm still young. I'm still doing good. But when we were younger, I should say, we didn't have the access what this young generation had, and I'm glad a lot of these young people, they are using it, and I see a lot of young people coming into the crypto space and asking us questions and so on, which is great. So I'm encouraged, but at the same time, there's a large section of the community as well that is still suffering because of this dual citizenship, should I call it? And that stigma needs to break, because we need to stop saying to our young generation that we need to stop putting pressure on them, literally, and we need to give them the freedom to flourish in here, but still teach them that the Eritrea is their home, and hopefully one day they will go back and so that's the biggest difference. I think in our generation it was that's it, you get education, you have to go back home, you have to go help out your country. We want to do that. I'm still planning to do it in near future, but I think the mechanism of it was very hard for us to achieve that goal, and hence is we'll see what happens. But yeah, like you said, to answer your question, there's a major difference, and the major difference is played by the technological and social media aspect of it. So and a lot of these young people, they are adapting to it, and they're using it, and we should not blame them. We should not blame them. They're doing their TikTok, they're doing whatever it is. That's what they're growing into.
Going forward with it.
That's what they're growing into. That's how they're growing. You don't expect them to live our way of living that was 20 years ago. So, anyways, So
that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, that gives us hope going future with our youngsters.
Absolutely.
And before we wrap it up, is there any message that you want to give out there to our community that can be inspiring, or that can give us a bit of hope, or any change that from Eyob coming you'd like to see going forward?
I think the biggest change is obviously we are hopeful that now the peace in the region, our region, Eritrea and Ethiopia and so on, is going to be good. So hopefully, our final dream to go back home and develop our country will come to fruition. But beside that, my advice is always to have a stable asset somewhere here. And that stable asset, in my opinion, is property. If you can, if you know how to manage it, or even I'm gonna say clearly, I'm deep into cryptocurrency, and the cryptocurrency is especially for the younger generation, is divulge into it, because that's what you're gonna be living through. My simple advice is, invest in yourself first, and then once you invested in your stuff, then you will see the fruition of what you invested down the line.
Brilliant.
Yep.
If someone who saw our show today and they want to contact you regarding, it could be a choice of education.
Yeah.
It could be that guy, the African guy.
Absolutely.
That changed somebody's life.
Yep.
Or anybody who's interested in, properties and flipping it or selling it, or anybody wants to get to into this crypto things.
Yep.
Right. Where's the best place to contact you?
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna put my Instagram.
Yeah.
So just DM me on that, and I'll take it from there, because it's like I've got a busy life, but I always got time for people to ask me questions, and I'm willing to answer them. And then obviously I've got a large family, so it's it does take time, whatever. But so if I don't answer you quickly, you have to bear with me. But if you are if you want to do a project development and so on, then absolutely, by all means, please contact us. And we got I've got a team of engineers and designers and so on that we can collaborate with, help you with. But any young person that need advice on anything, please, just by all means, just DM me, and I'll be happy to answer you or put in the right direction. And absolutely, it's we're open for this.
Eyob, it's been a pleasure. We learned a lot. And I hope our viewers learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that you coming.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you, bro.
What we do in this show is, before we wrap it up, we'll ask every guest, right, if they can choose one song or any song that gives them a little vibe. Any Habesha song, what would it be?
You know who I'm gonna go for. I mean, this is the most obvious things. There's no one like him, and the only one.
Jeez.
The only one.
I hear that.
Number one.
Yeah.
Yemane Baria. And the song is Tezukhona Lay.
All right.
This is inspirational song to me, because Tezukhona Lay means is if I could, whatever. So I used to listen to it many years ago, and it's stuck in my head, and it's one tune that I could never get away with without listening to it. So Tezukhona Lay is it's deep. It's deep, man.
Big up to Eyob, our
man,
residential DJ, DJ S Boogie.
Yeah.
Play that tune for us and drop it.
Thank you. It's very mellow. It's not like something that you're gonna be jumping up and down for it, but it's
any tune, bro. It's comfortable today.
Yeah, man.
دليون تبخن اللي حافظ نايل بيت بثمر اللي ومخدكو كذاوتنا عدي عينك دليون تبخن اللي حافظ نايل بيت بثمر اللي ومخدكو